Hey everybody, it's Dan Greer with Eclipse, and today I'm here to talk all about reasonable suspicion. And I just want to kind of go into a little bit about what it is and why you need it and why it's important to keep updated on it. So, reasonable suspicion is when you go through a training or you have the ability to reasonably suspect that somebody is using drugs or alcohol. Now, the big point of going through this training every couple of years is to renew yourself and to refresh it. So, there is some rules and regulations around this. Now, the first rule is that if you've never been through reasonable suspicion and you're a supervisor, you should be going through this course. Okay. Now, I should tell you, we're doing some of these events live throughout the coming future. So definitely stay in tune with us, stay in touch with us. You're going to see it coming up on our social media. Get on our email list, go to our website, eclipsedot.com, and click to sign up, put in your name, get it entered into our email list. That way you're getting these notifications whenever we send them out. We don't bombard you with crap. What we do is we just give you what's needed. And that way you'll know where we're at and what's going on. Now, I got to tell you that if you want us to come to your town, all you got to do is let us know, and we'll do everything within our power to get there and actually do a reasonable suspicion training in the area. Because if you need it, more than likely somebody else needs it as well. Now, I divert. Let's go back into actually what reasonable suspicion is, okay? So reasonable suspicion is the ability to reasonably suspect when somebody is using something. Now, what does the federal government say about this? The federal government says that if you're going to have a truck running in your company, that somebody has to be trained in reasonable suspicion. Now, if the person who is trained is a CDL driver, then you have to have two people that are trained in reasonable suspicion, because somebody has to be able to do reasonable suspicion on the driver who's the manager who's also doing reasonable suspicion. And that just got like crazy. That was like convoluted and nuts. It was like I was talking gibberish and all kinds of like regulations for a minute. That sucked. Let's try that one more time to see if I can simplify it. Okay. So if you have a manager and they have a CDL and they have reasonable suspicion, then you have to have somebody else who has reasonable suspicion training as well, so they can make sure that the manager isn't using drugs or alcohol, as well as the managers make sure they're not using, any of their people are not using it, right? I know it sounds kind of crazy, but that's just like the rules around it. And so there's a couple different ways to do this. And one of the ways that I like to recommend companies do this is every couple of years, renew your reasonable suspicion. Now, a lot of times I get this question: Dan, I went through reasonable suspicion 5 years ago. Do I still need to go through it again? The answer is every 2 to 3 years, you should refresh. Think about it. Like, how often do you actually do reasonable suspicion? You probably are checking every single day, but you're probably not up to date on all the new drugs that are coming out. Or maybe you forgot what crack looks like, or what heroin looks like, or what, pot. Well, I mean, marijuana is so worldwide now, it seems kind of crazy how easy it is to tell when somebody's smoking weed, but maybe you forget like what it looks like or what some of those signs are. And so it's really good to go through and get that re-up on that again, okay? Now, I'm going to tell you that reasonable suspicion is a minimum of 2-hour training. We're not going to go through this here. This is just simply like explaining what it is, why you have to have it, and who has to have it. So we've talked about what it is, right? It's so you can tell if somebody's using drugs or alcohol. Let's talk a little bit about why it's so important to the company to have it, other than the fact that the feds say that you have to have it if you have a CDL driver, okay? So we work with a lot of companies, and one of the things that I've really found out is that whenever you get ready to do reasonable suspicion is that when you have employees, even if they're not driving commercial vehicles, you want them to be safe, because when you have somebody who's using, the rest of the morale goes down. And if you're not catching that, if you're not seeing that as a supervisor, then you actually are losing money off of your bottom line. And so this is an investment in you and in your people, okay? The other thing that you want to remember is that, like, it's super important to go through these reasonable suspicion trainings every once in a while because of the HR aspect to this. So let's say that you have a company that, let's say that you run a company and you haven't been through reasonable suspicion, and you just fire somebody point blank and you don't ever get them drug tested. You go, nope, you're using, you're gone. And you just think they're using. You don't actually go through the right role. They could turn around and sue you. Like, they could turn around and come after you. And legally, you could be in a lot of trouble financially then. And so one bad decision could completely change your life. And so that's the reason why you personally want to go through it. And that's why I recommend going through it every couple of years, is because, as you get into here, you want to mitigate your risk as much as possible. Mitigate means like to get rid of. You want to reduce your risk as much as possible. Now, we can't ever like get it down to zero. We know that. We all make mistakes. We all say dumb things. We all do crazy things once in a while. I'm guilty of it every single day, right? But if we can reduce that risk, then it's huge. Okay? So that's one of the reasons why I recommend we go through it every couple of years, is to do that. Now, so we've talked about what it is. We've talked about why it's required. We've talked about why you should do it and how often you should do it, right? What's the last thing that we should chat about with reasonable suspicion? Last thing I want to say is like finding somebody that makes it fun. Now, this is a mandatory class if you have CDL drivers, right? Now, I'm not saying you got to go through it through us. That's not what I'm saying, okay? Because I'm definitely like no pressure when it comes to this kind of stuff. I think you need to make the right choices and the right decisions and go to the right people. But my question is do you want to learn from somebody who's like, this is what marijuana looks like? How boring would that be? 2 hours of your life wasted from something like that, right? I've seen it. Death by PowerPoint. Every time, all the time. Everybody does it. Like, it sucks. I hate death by PowerPoint. And so that's why we use PowerPoints. Don't get me wrong. Like, we use presentations, but they're not boring and they're not like just jumbled up massive amounts of words. You're going to get a ton of energy whenever you come to one of our programs. And so that's why I recommend that you find somebody who's good to learn from. Somebody who makes it exciting. This is dry, boring crap. It all sucks. It's all hard to learn. Like, don't get me wrong, right? But do you want to learn from somebody who makes it fun? Or do you want to learn from somebody who like puts you to sleep? I guess if you have insomnia, go to the sleep guy, right? But like, if you like actually being attentive and learning something and being there, then man, you need to come to something that like energizes you and makes it fun and makes it enjoyable to be there. So anyways, I just want to encourage you guys that if you haven't done a reasonable suspicion in the recent past, to do it. I also want to encourage you that if you haven't done it at all, to do it. I also want to encourage you that if you want a reasonable suspicion in your area, reach out to us. Let us know. We'd be happy to work with you guys and see what we can do to get you taken care of. If you guys have any questions on reasonable suspicion, shoot us an email. Check me out on Instagram, Facebook, social media. I'm all over it. I'm on LinkedIn, like huge presence on LinkedIn. And then also we are growing our channel. And the other thing I got to say is this, like, I don't ever do this, but I'm going to do this right now. So like, I have this podcast called Leading from the Middle of the Pack. And I just want you guys to check it out. Okay. And it's all about leading when you're not in charge. It's, you know, I do this whole action call in the beginning of it, in the intro, and you're going to know exactly what it is when you read it. And if that action call fits you, if you're like, oh man, dude, this is totally me, then you're going to want to listen to it because it's going to have tons of tips and advice on it about like leadership. Okay. So anyways, that's it, guys. I hope you enjoy it. Also, oh my gosh, one more thing. We are doing hackathons in like leadership hackathons and like DOT hackathons where we go in and we like hack into it and we figure out how to do it. And we give you guys like tips and tricks and everything like that. And we're doing them live and we're doing them in person. We're doing them, we might do a virtual seat. I don't know. I haven't decided yet, but we're doing them in like these awesome locations. Like we've got one coming up in San Diego and we're talking about like Florida and Kentucky and maybe even like New York City, right? Like how fun would it be to like get a VIP experience in New York City for a day for doing a leadership hackathon or something like that, or San Diego or something fun like that. So I want to encourage you guys to check out our website for live events. We're building that right now, depending on when you're watching this. So check it out. Check out our live events section of it. Or, you know, follow us on social media. You'll see a ton of stuff. We'll be always posting stuff there about it. So